Two questions we want to answer today. Question number one, how do you actually build wealth without giving up your lifestyle? At least we're trying to maintain the same kind of lifestyle we had before building wealth. And question number two, once you know how to build wealth, how do you do it as quickly as possible? And so those are the two questions we want to address today. And building wealth is just something that I've been fascinated with over the last 10, 15 years, particularly because I didn't come from a lot of money. And also, I work a 9 to 5. And so because I'm not some crazy entrepreneur that makes millions of dollars a year, actually like learning how to save money, do so effectively, quickly, and investing money became of paramount importance to my wealth building journey. The one thing that I learned during that process and in my conversations with other people is most people build wealth backwards. They cut expenses and cut. And they're thinking about, what do I do to get that extra dollar? And as a result, they are stressed. I don't know if you've ever been through the situation where, all right, I have to only spend $5 on all our meals today, right? And I have to do that every day for the next 30 days. I mean, that's one way to do it, right? That's one way to cut. What I really like is to think about whether or not the things you're cutting actually make a difference in your life. And if it does, is it a good difference? Is it a negative difference? I'll give you an example. I was working with a client and we were talking about cutting expenses. And one of the things that we talked about was how she really could not find a way to cut anything because she felt like she had been just barely scraping by, living paycheck to paycheck. And so I was like, all right, let's break it down and see if that is true. So tell me what you buy at the grocery store. And she says, oh, we buy bread, we buy milk, we buy eggs. Sometimes I like to get myself a little something nice. It's like a little treat, junk food. And so now there's a thread for me to catch on to, right? So now I'm thinking to myself, okay, so a little junk food has never hurt anyone, right? But a lot? Well, let's talk about that a little. Why are you buying the junk food? I mean, you mentioned it knowingly, saying that, it's a reward for you. Yeah, I mean, it's a reward because like I've been working so hard trying to save money, even though I haven't really been successful. So I still kind of feel like I need to reward myself. So I go and buy myself chips and snacks. And so how often do you do that? Okay, once a week? Well, okay, so you go buy your snacks once a week. And how much money do you spend on these snacks? And she's like, oh yeah, not much, like about 20 to 30 bucks a week. And she's like, I was like, okay, that's $100 a month, right? That is $100 a month. And to someone who did not have a job at the time, who was not living at home, who was really worried about how her financial future could be secured, $100 did make a difference, right? It could work towards an emergency fund that she was not building. Okay, and so we had a discussion. We talked about, okay, like, are there other ways of celebrating that would make you happy, just as happy, if not happier? And so we talked about how, okay, like what about if you go to the park? I mean, the park doesn't really feel much of a reward, but like, what if you intentionally took time off? What if you meditated and you journaled and your reward was 20 minutes of peace, right? And I know that sounds kind of woo-woo in the air, but it's different for everyone. For me, a reward that I really like to treat myself with is sitting there, closing my eyes, and just being thankful. But that's just me. Like, the principle behind this is, if you want to reward yourself, are there other ways to do it that maybe don't involve harming your either bank account or your own health, right? And so the way you're thinking about building wealth and spending less money is not by removing things, but instead by replacing things. Okay, like what spending habits can you replace in your life that you'd be happy to replace in your life? Because chances are there are other reasons, right? Maybe they'll improve your relationships, maybe they'll improve your health. So one thing that my wife and I did at night, instead of going out for drinks like 3-4 times a week, was we went on bike rides. We would get on these like sharing bikes and we would just ride around the city and chat for an hour and a half while we rode. And our relationship blossomed because of that. Our health improved because of that. And this was back when there was COVID, and so we were wearing masks, riding bikes like crazy people. But I look back at that time now and I'm so happy we did it. right? And so that didn't cost much money at all, maybe like $2 a week max. And so what can you replace in your life, right? Because chances are, if you want to build wealth and you want to save money, you want a method to the madness of saving money, because it is madness. It is madness to say that, hey, we can only buy discount groceries because we're trying to save another 20 bucks a month because we're living paycheck to paycheck. That is madness. But it is not madness to say, hey, instead of going out to this fancy restaurant tonight, here's what we're gonna do. We are gonna get some takeout. That's probably gonna be cheaper. We'll finish quicker and then we'll enjoy a show together, or we'll go for a walk together, or let's go for a bike ride. So there's so many examples of that. So you want to either, if you can't remove the spending habit, you replace it, okay? And so that's how you build wealth. So the whole idea is you want some way of having some extra cash flow coming in every single month. The second way to do that, obviously, is to raise your income, right? But most people think in terms of getting another job, yeah? They think in terms of, okay, like how much I get paid an hour, how many more hours do I have to work? And all of a sudden, it becomes a drag. And I know it has for me, because I was thinking about how I can increase my income as a teacher, and I immediately went to tutoring. But tutoring, like many other jobs, get paid by the hour. And so I just remember this like dread, like existential dread. It was dreadful. Just like going to the computer, turning it on, and just, hi, what are we gonna learn today, right? And the reason was because I knew that as I worked more and more, time with my family and leisure time became more and more valuable. And so I became more and more unwilling to give that up, because it wasn't worth it. And at the end of the day, for what? For an extra 20 bucks? And so what I ended up doing in that situation is I thought, if I wasn't doing this, could I be doing something that I actually find meaningful, number one, and number two, might not make money right away, but will make money in the future if I keep going. And so this YouTube channel is an example of that. I'm doing other stuff that pay absolutely no money today, but may reap massive benefits in the future, because I feel like I'm building an asset. I feel like it's something meaningful, and I don't hate it, because I feel like every time I do it, I'm getting closer to a goal. If you're like in dire need of cash, then sure, go get a side hustle, get an hourly job, start flipping stuff on eBay. But if you've managed to replace parts of your lifestyle to get an extra $500, $1,000, $2,000 a month saved in the bank, and you're not strapped for cash anymore, then you should be spending your time on endeavors that build you cash flows. And so a YouTube channel, a business, learning how to invest, all of those will pay dividends in the long run with benefits that compound into the future. And so that's how you actually build wealth. Now, second question, how do you do it quickly? The perfect answer is you want to do it automatically. And so instead of thinking about how much money you have to save every single month, you sit down and you set a goal, right? You set a goal that's like, I want X amount of money by X time. And then you talk to yourself and you're like, how much money do I need to save if I want that much money by that time? And then obviously there are compound interest calculations. You can search up investment calculators and they will do the math for you. But then you'll come up with an amount of money you need to save every single month to meet your goals. And also you need a second number, which is the amount of money you need to save to hit your emergency fund, your runway, so on and so forth, before, like how much ground you have to run before you run off a cliff if you have no job, right? And so once that is settled, all you have to do is track one extra number, and that is your net worth trend over time. And so once or twice a year, sit down. I mean, some people do it once a month, but I don't care for that because markets fluctuate. But once a year, I sit down and I write down the amount of money and value of my assets in all my bank accounts of everything that I own. And if I am on track, then no problem, I keep going. If I'm not, I adjust. Am I spending too much? Is there something more I need to replace? Is there something I need to remove? Do I need to get a tutoring job or not? Yeah. And so once you have all of those numbers set up and you're tracking that one specific number, you want to do what? You want to save it at the beginning. Yeah. And so your paycheck, let's say it's $5,000 and you want to save $1,000. Just put that $1,000 in a separate account and you don't even touch it, right? And so the amount that actually hits your bank account for you to spend is $4,000. And from now on, you only make $4,000 a month. And then any raise you get, 50% goes towards the savings, 50% you can enjoy and buy whatever you want, right? Save it towards a vacation, does not matter. And so that's how I would address these two questions, right? Like, how do you keep your lifestyle? Like, what does this mean for you, right? Like, how do you keep keep your lifestyle around the same? Well, by thinking about the activities that will generate you a similar amount of happiness. How do you build wealth as quickly as possible? By doing it automatically so you don't notice while it's happening on the side. Okay, if you like this stuff, well, subscribe to the channel. I like talking about finance stuff like this because it kind of fires me up a little. So I'll see you in the next video.